Britain's wildlife is in peril, says the government, which this week promised to protect 30% of it by 2030. The PM said the government already looks after 26% of UK land, but it will find another 4,000 square kilometres, the size of the Lake District and South Downs National Parks combined. Most of the 26% is national parks.
We have a very different type of national park than those you'd find, for instance, in America. In the US, a huge country with large wildernesses left there, and national parks are places where people don't live fundamentally, where nature rules, and they're relatively wild areas. Our national parks are man-made, created landscapes which continue to be managed by farmers and land managers. The Lake District National Park was a couple of years ago recognised by UNESCO as an extraordinary man-made landscape. This is our countryside in Britain. It's a critical point to remember. Isn't just about what God had created and what it was like on the seventh day. The countryside is as much about the people and the working people, the farming community and those who created it, as it is about nature.
The Wildlife Trust has been pushing the government to protect more land, but it's disappointed with the announcement. It says only 10% of UK land is protected and it's in bad condition, and thinks rewilding would be a better option. The Countryside Alliance, among others, thinks that's a bad idea as it ignores centuries of land management.
Over recent years, this whole strange, extreme environmental debate and things like rewilding forgets the fact that people are as much a part of the countryside as nature and domestic livestock. The reason they become national parks, the reason they become areas of outstanding natural beauty, is because of the farming and land management systems that have been there. The Lake District, Wordsworth wasn't writing about the wild Lake District. He was writing about this landscape that had been created by generations of farmers, which is still there and which is still being maintained.
It's also unclear whether Boris Johnson's promise to designate more land makes any difference to the wildlife, according to the Game and Wildlife Conservation Trust.
This idea of having designations has been one that's been around for decades. In fact, large conservation organisations around the world have advanced this as a primary idea about how to actually recover wildlife. And so you take tracts of land and you designate it, so you give it a label, and somehow that will then protect it and it will get better and you will save what's there. In some places that can work, but in reality it doesn't if you're trying to recover populations. And Dartmoor is a fascinating example. It is it's a national park, it's designated, but from an ornithological perspective it's a desert. It should be teeming with wildlife, but it's not. There are a number of reasons for that, but nobody seems to have accept the fact that the designations have done nothing for it.
Both organisations say the government's plan will only benefit the field sports community, as there's no one else qualified to look after the land.
10 days ago, most government departments, if you asked them how much designated land there was in the UK, they would have used the 8% figure. Now Number 10 have had a look at it, they come up with 26%. Okay, you can just draw lines on maps. It hasn't actually made a material difference. What we need to do is to go back down to working with people on the ground and recognising, the efforts that are made and the positive contributions. And if a positive contribution comes from the sporting community, why don't you recognise it?
The British public love the British countryside as it is. And that's not to say it can't be better and we can't do things better and farming can improve and we can't encourage more biodiversity, but we should be doing that within the context of the countryside that we all love.